Alright, so in this video what I'm going to show you is more of an advanced landscape. Now you'll see if you look at my YouTube channel, T3 Series on YouTube, you'll find I've done a whole beginner's guide to landscapes in 3 parts. It's called The Elements of Art, how to use the elements of art in a landscape drawing. But in this video, this is for those of you who have watched that and you kind of understand the basics. So we're going to go into more of an advanced landscape design. And we're calling this one Fall Landscapes. So in this assignment, you're going to be drawing a fall landscape. And you just need to make sure that that landscape incorporates a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, and lots of fall colors. That's going to make it fun. So with these, you got the greens and the yellows. Actually, I mean, the fall colors that are dominant are typically the yellows and the oranges and the reds and some of the greens, as you can see in this Bob Ross painting. But it doesn't mean you can't use blues, etc. But that's typically the dominant colors are the warm colors. So to turn this in, you just need to write your name on it, and then you'll put it in your distance learning portfolio, and then write the reflection for it. All right, so this should take you about 1, maybe 2 classes to complete. All right, and what is a landscape? Well, basically, it's an outdoor scene that incorporates land, or that uses a foreground, a middle ground, and a background to increase the illusion of space, or to focus the viewer on the depth of space. And so that's what makes landscapes, in my mind, so beautiful, is their ability, the landscape artist's ability to really create this illusion of depth. That we're standing here, we're looking at this vast, beautiful scenery. And so that's what I hope you remember and use in this landscape: foreground, middle ground, and background. So on this slide you can see a simple explanation, and again, you have access to this slideshow, this presentation, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But you can see here, if you just take a simple picture, like over here on the right, if you just take this simple picture, you can see how the artist has gone in and just really outlined these areas. You've got the mountains, you've got this pond here, you've got these rolling hills, and really then you have these trees that are kind of standing up in the foreground. And you can see that here in Van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night. If you look down here, in Van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night, he uses that cypress tree there in the foreground to really give us a starting point to then appreciate these rolling hills in the background and surface in the middle ground. So we've got this middle ground with the city, we've got the background with the sky, and the mountains are kind of in the mid to background, basically dividing the surface of the earth from the sky. So there's, again, just some fascinating work. So if you were to take a picture like any one of these and just kind of draw some lines on it to try to find the foreground, the middle ground, the background, it may help you. So I'd encourage you maybe to open up some landscape pictures. These are fine. You can even be inspired by these. But to notice how in this picture here, this middle picture, what we have are these trees that kind of lead our eye into this area. So this is all sky, right? But they're drawing our eye. This is like pointing us down into here, where we then pick up with the river that's coming and flowing and coming under this bridge. It's, again, drawing us from the background to the foreground, and Thomas Kincaid does a wonderful job. And then he has this pathway as well, this kind of moving us across this direction. And so the idea is to have the landscape with lots of movement. And so we see here in this piece, you could see the arrangement of the geese, which is drawing our eye across the sky. We've got this beautiful sloping landscape line for the background. In the middle ground, we have these clusters of trees that come up. All right, and in the foreground here, we've got this path, which then again moves our eye into the distance. Okay, so a lot of this has to do with moving the viewer through the work, back and forth through the work. All right, and so that's what I want you focused on. Now that you know how to draw a landscape, I want you to focus on, perfecting it and making it the best that you can make it. All right, so in these landscapes, you can see some of the beautiful colors, the orange and the red, and how they're blending all these colors together. So that's what we're looking for in this assignment, is you taking and having fun coloring and putting your ideas on paper. And you're going to make your own landscape. I'll show you some ideas, but ultimately it's going to be your own, whatever you decide. So to create the landscape, there's basically 3 steps. You create the actual layout with pencil, then you add the landscape details, and I would say that you should use colors, like you can use colored pencils, or you can use watercolor, maybe outline everything with pen and ink, and then color it with watercolor. You can kind of see that here. This is what it would look like if you did that. If you took one of those Sharpies and outlined everything and then colored it, that's how it would look. If you're looking for more of a realistic effect, you might just use colored pencils throughout. Like these are colored pencils, the ones on the right here, and these are straight pencils. But again, I think it's much more fun to use the colors and to get used to coloring and layering those colors. And then the last thing you're going to do is upload it to your distance learning portfolio so we can all enjoy it and see it, or so at least you'll have a documented record of it. So as you can see here, there's 4 different variations that I could show you how to do. And so this is there for your use. And these are just some brainstorming ideas. If you're not sure what you can put in it to make it more interesting, you can always add some of these ideas. Add a little pumpkin patch, or add a wood fence, or a pile of leaves, or some geese flying across the sky. All right, any of those things. And you can see some people want to go outside and do this. So yeah, be my guest if you want to go outside. I think it's a little cold right now, but if you wanted to go outside and take a picture of a place that's beautiful near your home, you could then, or even if you wanted to do your own house in a landscape format, just take a picture of your house or another house in Windsor and the beautiful surroundings, and you could actually be inspired by that. It doesn't have to be exact, but be inspired. Our hope is that you learn to really observe that depth of space and learn to draw it in this lesson. Okay, and that brings us to some examples. As you can see here, I have in front of me some possible examples. Now, what you'll do is you'll sketch out a few examples of things you might want to try. You could use a scrap piece of paper and maybe divide it in 4 and just practice laying some different designs out, each of them with a background, something in the middle ground, and some things in the foreground. So you can see each one of these is kind of taking inspiration from different pictures that I've found. Okay, you've got the background here, you've got the clouds, the different mountain layers, this big beautiful body of water, and then this beach coming towards us. So again, these things are meant to move the viewer's eye. This river moves the viewer's eye into the background. Same thing here. So those are some ideas. And then what you'll do, once you've sketched out a few, this is not part of your grade, this is just what I recommend, just so you can get used to laying out some decent landscapes. When you've done that, you're going to pick one of those, and then you'll draw it out in a large 9 by 12 piece of paper like this. So what I typically do, again, if you want to review the videos, I have that whole video series you can review. But I start with a landscape, or a horizon line, kind of a curved horizon line. I might add some various mountains or some textured lines that represent trees that are in the distance. I might add some buildings into the background or into the middle ground. And then in the background, obviously, is the sky. One of the things you could add, when we were talking about the birds earlier, you might just simply draw a line and then put a little half circle on the front and then a half circle on the back, a triangle going up and a triangle going down. That gives you a little bird, a goose, how the geese are flying south for the winter. You could just change the direction of their wings and you get this illusion of birds flying. So that's something you can add that might make it a little bit interesting. Add some interest to it however you want. Again, another thing you can do is to take an element like a tree and just simply add it large in the foreground, medium in the middle ground, and smaller in the background. And visually, what that does is it makes the viewer recognize that depth of space as we were talking about. And again, since my sun is coming from over here, my shadows are going to be cast to this side. And again, I'm not doing this in pencil. I'm just laying it out so that when I go into coloring, I have all the marks laid out. All right, so when you're done with that one, you're going to come in with your colored pencil. Now, here's where you got to remember to use multiple colors. So maybe you use reds, orange, yellow for the sky. I remember looking in Thomas Kincaid's pieces, and he had more of blue sky because he was doing a lot of the trees with the red, yellow, and orange. Okay, it's up to you how you color it. It should be a fall landscape, but that's not really what I'm after. I'm really after you being able to draw a decent looking landscape and then color it with multiple colors in each area. And also notice how I have defined the clouds by outlining them. I've defined the mountains by outlining those. And also using multiple colors here in the grass. So it's not just green, it's not just dark green, it's a little bit of dark green, a little bit of light green, a little bit of yellow. All right, so use multiple colors, and what you'll find when you use multiple colors is you get a lot richer look to your work. And for the final comment I want to make is on the reflections. So if you do have a body of water, what you're going to want to do is show reflections of the colors around. So if the sky is red and orange and yellow, then the water will reflect that, because the water is not going to be typically blue unless you have a blue sky, because the water is going to reflect its surroundings. All right. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with and turn in, because again, I think landscape is a beautiful art form and everyone should know how to do one. So have a good time doing it.